Okay, everybody, welcome to the Daily Crossing. Great to see you. Great to see you, Lorena.
Excited.
Great to see you,
Yes.
Alexis
How you
Smith.
doing?
How you been? I haven't seen
I'm
you
good.
guys for a couple of days. You know what I mean? And
Semana
so,
Santa Europe.
I know this whole thing just got a little complicated, but we've seen everybody. We got a lot of stuff that we definitely want to cover. Good to see you, everyone. This is episode number 15. Quince.
Quinceañera.
Para los
Exactly.
quinceañeros.
We're officially
Exactly.
available to be married at this point. At
It's,
50.
What? Arranged marriage?
Yes.
Which country are we talking about here? I guess,
That's the point of the quinceañera, right?
Okay.
It's like, yeah, they're officially a woman.
no,
Oh, yes.
That's not the way that works.
Yes, yes.
No, not
It's
at
like-
all.
like a Sweet 16. And
Correct,
Sweet
correct.
16.
Yes, yes.
The point of
Ah.
Sweet 16 is
Yes.
It's
like
16. We're
she's
not
a-
there yet.
not to get you ready to go
Yes.
get married.
Quinceañera,
See,
quinceañera.
you can tell who has kids. They're like, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear.
I don't have kids, so I don't want to
Yeah,
put
yes,
shit
I'm
about
telling
that.
you, yes, that's what it
Malia
is.
is
I
coming.
definitely don't want to hear it. But yeah, no, not getting it's usually not the right country. Definitely not us. We're not getting children to get married at 15 years old. There's other
The
places
way
that
that things
do
are
that,
going,
though.
though, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
be
coming
okay.
soon. That's
Yeah.
coming soon.
Well, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
Sad.
But guys, a lot of stuff going on out there. I want to see if we can just go over a few things. Needless to say, right at the top of the hour right now, the number one issue that everybody's trying to process is, the leak of classified documents, right? That is out there right now. Is ridiculous how this whole thing is taking place. But anyway, the young man involved in this situation is a 21-year-old Guard member. His name is Jack Teixeira, and just got picked up, got arrested officially. You know what I mean? The FBI went to his house. It's a remarkable thing to witness. A very young man, coming out wearing his shorts, and I'm looking at the news, and I'm saying, this is a kid. This is
He's probably playing video games.
all kinds of.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, that's how the whole thing develops. You know what I mean? It appeared that the background about the whole scenario is connected to something that started as a game. A lot of information is still coming out, just with a little more details, but we're gonna go over that. The second thing that I want to make sure that we get the chance to cover is this whole situation with Elon Musk calling out a reporter, right? Comes in to interview him and wants to accuse about how Twitter right now, the hate speech is just, you know what I mean, through the roof. It's getting out of control. The stuff that I'm getting, he said, quote me one thing. And we'll get back to that one. But and obviously, right now, guys, we're going into summer. You know what I mean? We literally, there's so much information about the economy, the situation with the currency, all those alliances that are coming together against United States. You know what I mean? That would potentially have a significant impact. Also, stuff going on even here in the state of Florida in terms of housing. We'll get to some of that, and I don't know if you were able to also witness the recent UFC fight that
Yes, I did.
former President Trump was a part of. You know what I mean? The kind of reception he got there, and I don't know.
Sounds like Trump was fighting
to
at
me,
the White House in the
I
Well,
can see him
ring.
doing
Yeah.
that. I can see him doing that.
And the thing, guys, is that you have a scenario where, in light of what happened, right? In light of the fact that he just recently was arrested, was booked, was fingerprinted. You have a former president. All the stuff that's coming out, even about the charges, everybody's still saying, what's the issue here, right? This is not supposed to be. Obviously, he's getting some sympathy points. We'll cover some of those things, but I want to start with this situation with these classified documents, guys. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, our Secretary of Defense was being asked what's actually going on, and is painful to know now that the answer that he provided about what is the current situation of Russia, what is the current situation for Ukraine, right, is pretty much the opposite of what these documents are describing. So I want to get your take, anything that you know about it, anything that you understand about what's taking place. And I want to ask you this, so hopefully we can approach this also based on the whole concept of information and misinformation.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, because sometimes you don't know what's being put out there, if it's happening by accident or was something done intentionally, and a 21-year-old is the one who's
Taking
going to
the
be.
fall for it,
It's a little
One
bit.
of the strategies of war.
Could be.
So I got a lot of different thoughts on the whole situation. Number one, so I remember we was talking about leaked information, a couple of episodes ago. But I don't understand who has access to the classified documents, where these things are. Like, I feel like they just have them in a drawer. Like, there's a drawer that's available for anybody to go into, and then they go. It's like, I don't.
They're not even locking the door.
Yeah, not at all. Because I'm just thinking about what I was doing at 21 years old, and why would I have access to classified documents at 25 years old? It makes no sense.
21.
21. Yeah. So
You can't even rent a car.
21 years old, you got access to classified documents. So, I think I'm more mad.
You're officially ready to go have your first drink.
Yeah. Correct. So I think I'm more mad at the fact that he even had access to this information.
Correct.
Versus the fact that he leaked information, and then so it's a little weird to me. And then also I don't know if what they're saying he's like the potential I guess repercussions. I feel like it's too much. They're talking about maybe 15 years. He might be able to do if he does.
Well, just so you know, I mean, there was a time where if your actions will amount or will be classified as treason officially, the punishment was death. I'll take
15 years.
I'll take 15 years old. You know what I mean? That sounds like you might be.
So the way that the media is making it sound is as if a 21-year-old wanted to impress couple
Correct.
people on his chat and in Discord or whatever it is with the video game and stuff.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was that he shared. That is the equivalent of a toddler putting like a hanger in the outlet and like the punishment may be death.
15 years in jail.
Because
for the 5-year-old.
God protect all the toddlers, right? But it's kind of like that's the way that they're making it sound.
But here's the question though, because I remember, like I said, we was talking about even other people being charged with leaking information. So now if this 21-year-old goes to jail for 15 years, or now if a president or decides to you wasn't supposed to say this information that you didn't say, are they now facing those same type of charges? Where they can go to jail for 15 years because some information that you weren't supposed to have on your laptop, we found out that you had,
Do we know if this kid is considered like a whistleblower? Is he a whistleblower?
No, so a lot of people immediately were thinking that is this Snowden type of effect, right? Is it this guy, or is this guy the other website, Julian Assange, they used to. The fact of the matter is that the most disturbing thing is that it appears to be from his behavior, right? What is being described as so kids playing games with the other friends, and it becomes a little bit of bragging. I have access to certain things that, and they start. As a matter of fact, the source where they started to drop the information is kind of like a gamers type of environment, right, or a website. So it tells you again, it's a very young mind mentality, and so there's about 3 different things that come to mind to me immediately. The first one is, that the responsibility is going to be, or the complete blame is going to be laid on, and will actually stop with this kid.
At the kid.
I'm concerned about that, right? Because he obviously ended up doing something extremely stupid, right? Yeah. And my fear gets to be elevated to, okay, so what are the consequences? Allies not trusting us, because this is one of those, like, what the hell, like you're saying, like, where are you keeping, how are you guarding your information, right? Second thing is loss of lives, you know what I mean? It's not just question of relationships or money. We've been losing a lot of money, apparently. The potential loss of lives, you know what I mean, is that any strategic information that went out that was not supposed to go out, and now these guys have access to it. But there's also some very significant implications. Like I said, Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin was being asked that question. How are we doing with the war? Are we winning? What's actually happening? And his answer was, Russia, it's like, they're not doing well. We're looking good, and if we just keep on, they are Well, what is coming out in these documents is the opposite of it, right? Is looking at Ukraine literally, and by May will potentially have no air defense mechanisms available anymore. Like meaning, unless we pour another, God knows how many billions of dollars, or send more equipment. That right now Taiwan is saying, hey, we absolutely pay for it. We absolutely pay for our weapons, and we're still not getting it. And you guys are sending stuff to these guys for free.
Oh, wow.
For free, right?
Yeah.
So I don't.
But here's another situation. They're saying that also some of the documents may have potentially been doctored or altered in some way. So then, how much of that information that we're seeing even on the documents is accurate?
Yeah, that's my last aspect of this whole situation, right? There's information and then there's misinformation, right? And some people sometimes will allow certain things to go out intentionally, right?
Sure.
Now, this doesn't appear that case right now. The question is how people will be using that information. Now, if that's not the case, though, and let's start with the whole concept, right? Where does it stop? Who should be held liable? If this is the only person that's gonna go down in this situation, that's what is wrong with our system. You know what I mean? Because
whoever didn't lock the door needs to also be in trouble.
Who's really responsible? See it from a business perspective, right? If you see it from a business perspective, if you're running a business, you're responsible for everything that goes wrong, and you can take the credit of everything that goes right.
Yeah.
Right? So if you use the same principle and you start going up the ladder, right? First of all, who gives access to this kind of information to a 21-year-old?
Correct.
Like you were saying, like what were you doing at 21 years old? And I go back and I'm like, I was definitely not qualified to handle, national security information.
I was not sober a single day while I was before.
Okay, that's you're winning there. So far, you're winning.
So here's the way that I look at it. Why was this done? Well, a kid just wanted to impress a couple people. Apparently didn't get magnified enough, and that happened. Okay, awesome. How did it happen? I actually looked into how are documents classified. So there's 3 types of classification. Apparently there's confidential, there's secret, and then there's top secret. And this kid happened to be an IT specialist, meaning maybe he just dealt with the wires, but he happened to be in the room where certain documents can actually be printed. And so the documents are printed somewhere, somehow. The paper is able to be tracked. I don't know how accurate is that, but that's how it happened. This kid had access to it. They're saying that they have to reevaluate certain things, but they also don't want to create a panic in the whole process, because if you're like, oh man, there's too much information being shared, then if there's no communication between the army and the different intelligence agencies, that becomes a problem. The what is what concerns me, right? It's like, what was in it? Was it doctor? Was it not doctor? And the kid taking the fall is also something that I don't like. Here's the thing that I look at. It sounds like the government is basically telling, this guy, Lloyd, or whatever it is, Lloyd Austin, is basically saying something, and media is just running with it, and they're taking it. There's no verification. And if there is, they're just saying, here's the agenda, here's what we're pushing, and they're saying it.
Correct.
And where I'm concerned is I saw that in my country. It started with a news channel called Venezolana de Televisión. And so that's where it started, where we knew, that was a government-ran, kind of like what they're claiming.
Propaganda, essentially.
And then they leaked into Televen, and it became the same thing. Then Venevisión, which happens to be it was a closet ally to the government as well. They weren't necessarily out in the open saying that they were for it, but the things that they were reporting on was. The only channel that was reporting against it was completely dismantled. Which is RCTV. They actually opposed it, and this channel was taken apart immediately. The last channel that was standing was Globovisión, and I'm pretty sure that they're also taken over. So you had 2 options: you were either taken over or taken apart. And when you look at the narrative of what is going out there and the way that things are being set right now in the media, it looks like we're already here. Which is really freaking scary.
Yeah, but for me, it's one of the things that I want to remind you is that there's also a difference, a very strong difference between what is the political structure, meaning from what government is on the the executive branches on anything that deals with even the House of Representatives. When you're talking about that political side, you mostly people, civilians, or I mean, and even people that have served in the past are now acting as civilians. The army or the armed forces is actually structured on a hierarchy of command precisely to avoid this kind of situations, and also a hierarchy of leadership, right? Where it's absolutely okay for only X amount of people to have access to certain information, right? And then that specific branch or department or group of people will have, so if we are the leadership team, right? If we are the group, it's okay for us to communicate. We're not, the fear shouldn't be, is this going to slow down the flow of information? I think that the flow of information where it's supposed to go will continue to go the way it's supposed to. Where it becomes a problem, though, is where it's not going to places that was never meant to be, or is not under the specific control. Like somebody should have been said immediately, should have said, no, that came from my department. That came from my hierarchy structure. That came from my, immediately, without hesitation, should have said, whoa. Like, we can narrow it down to, and it is, thank God, through the same technology that it's already in place that would allow you to say you printing something that you were not supposed to be printing to begin with. And so
this has been around
ways
since the beginning of March.
Correct.
It's April 15th.
And so there's a lot of information, a lot of concerning information. Ukraine, obviously, a lot of the countries that are participating against or in favor of the whole situation. There's also some reports about Egypt, right now, it's something that doesn't look good at all. But again, we go back to now it's going to become extremely difficult to even get to the bottom of what's truth and what's a lie, what was put together intentionally, what's being put out there, or what somebody will claim that no, that's not the real document. That was just somebody already tampered with that information. That's not the real information. Then you don't know. You're back to square one, where there are certain things that I think it would be best for us to even know to a certain level. For me,
so what was on the document?
There was
a couple briefings. There was a couple things about
the
Egypt.
biggest concentration is that it looks like Russia is in a much better position than anybody wanted to believe, and if things keep going the way we're heading right now,
because media is saying that we're winning.
Yes, and that it appears to be that.
Is the problem.
Well, we are fighting
we're
fighting a proxy war, right? And I think that everybody by now is you got to come to the conclusion that the United States is an active participant on this war. We now also know that there is military personnel. We have troops, and that's supposedly to guard some of the things. But it's very difficult to claim non-participation when you already got. We said we're not putting troops in there. We have troops in there. It's just it's messy from that perspective. But the fact that we are right now supporting the losing side. Yeah. That doesn't look good.
But no one knows about it.
Well, it's worse than that. It's not only that nobody knows about it, it's that everybody was under the impression that
we were winning. That's what I mean.
That these guys are winning. You know what I mean? And so the level of the lie, right, was going to be kept on that. My problem is that even the Secretary of Defense going to Congress, that's a crime. You're lying to Congress, knowing that these documents were also already out there, or at least in question, that there was a potential, and that this, whatever you were saying at that moment, was going to potentially come. So what do you do when the highest level of government is sitting in front of another branch of government, and they just lying to each other?
Yeah. So then, so it's so weird, because the question is, are they allowed to do that? And then now just call this information top secret. So then I'm allowed to lie to you. Under the
all right. So let me approach the same question under that premise, right? Yeah. You're asking me a question that is gonna. The only way I got two ways to answer the question. One of them is gonna force me to lie, which again, it's a crime if you lying to Congress, right? Under oath, if you lying to Congress, so I can turn around and say, congressman, senator, unfortunately, are not able to answer
Discuss
that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Not in this setting. I would be more than happy to, in a private setting, to provide it because that is information that can have consequences. It's not for the public.
Got it. So you can just say it's
Yeah.
top secret information.
If it is,
Yeah.
that's what it is. You know what I
Gotcha,
mean?
gotcha.
But you can't. But this is a different case, though.
Yeah.
This is like we doing okay. Russia's in bad shape. You know what I mean? We got it.
Gotcha,
We got it.
gotcha, yeah.
Now it looks like it's gonna take a lot more, and also the lack of participation from some of the countries that right now, some of the European countries that right now. Listen, this is supposed to be a NATO fight, not an American fight. Right now, we are financing 75 to 80% of the cost of what's taking place there, which has always been Trump's argument against NATO. Right? It's not that he doesn't support the idea of a NATO being there. What he's saying is
They gotta have skin in the game.
you gotta pay for the cost of everything that's being done there, not us. Then, and by the way, who is us? It's every
You and I.
single taxpayer.
Yeah.
Every single taxpayer in this country,
Correct.
who right now is being told we're gonna charge you a couple of more, percentage points for electricity. We're gonna
Yeah.
charge you if you own a gas stove. We're gonna, but I mean the kind of crazy stuff
Yeah,
that we're
I get
talking
you.
about taxing.
Yeah.
Well, those taxes are going to support some of the things that because it's
Crazy.
the only way that the economy. So it really is a problem. You know what I mean? For so many different angles. My concern though is it going to
So,
stop here?
Can we break that down though? Because you said it like that, and I understand it, but most people won't get it because they will say, "Well, I was told that the my tax bracket was not gonna be affected. I was told that if I make under X amount of dollars, my tax bracket is not gonna be affected. And so." But what people don't realize is the fact that because taxes are being raised elsewhere, the cost of things goes up. And at
Correct.
the end of the day, I'm paying for the taxes, even though.
But even if taxes aren't being raised, if you're taking a bigger portion of the money that you have, and it's going towards something that I don't necessarily want it to go to, that's still a problem.
Oh, 100%. I'm
Yes.
not going.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not even an argument against
Yeah.
that. It's just saying that, like, most people. That what I'm trying to drive here is most people don't get the fact that because my tax bracket didn't go up,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm not paying
Paying for
higher
it.
taxes
Somewhere.
anyway. Because
Yeah.
what we keep on explaining that things are getting more expensive.
Think about the amount of money that will be required to advance technology in our country today, to improve our road system, to improve. How about our education system
Yeah.
right now that needs
Yeah.
a complete overhaul? And when you see this billions and billions of dollars, we were just recently running
Yeah.
the exercise, right?
Yeah.
If you take $1 billion
Yep.
and you look into citizens that will be older than 18 years old, and we don't have the exact numbers, but we're saying roughly 200 million people in the United States,
Yeah.
right? And you took $1 billion and you decided we're just gonna give it away to everybody in the country. That would be roughly about $5 million per individual. Per individual. That means that if I'm married in that house, we're getting $10 million, right? So that would be.
I'm gonna get some kids
that
under
would
the
be-
age of 18.
be adopting children for the.
That's funny.
But my point
Foster
to
you,
you
you're
is,
17, got it.
and my point to you and my question to everybody is, can you do something with an
Absolutely.
additional $5 million in your bank account
Yeah.
at this very moment? So it's very difficult for anybody to see the kind of stuff that we're supporting right now. And the only way that you can digest supporting these things is that if a lease is being managed properly,
Yeah.
if you have responsible operators, if you got people that are on top of things, if you have people that are respectful of the money, and there's nothing here that is describing that money is being treated with any level of respect, that it doesn't look
Information.
like the information is being treated. It doesn't look like we are winning anything, to be quite honest with you. And it appears that we literally, as a country, we just enter into a lose-lose type of situation. And I want to go back to the situation with this 21-year-old.
Yeah.
I think that equally responsible happens to be the group of people who actually came up with the idea that it was okay for a 21-year-old to have access to that
space.
level of clearance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is like you said, at least get to the point. Forget about just getting to the point of drinking. At least get to the point where you can finally rent a car,
Yep,
right?
25.
So 25 years old,
That's the best
maybe that would be a little bit. But then even 20, I don't know that I want to put it on an age bracket, right? I want to go back
Yeah.
to that hierarchy structure,
Correct.
which is
Like
a
how-
hierarchy of
Yeah.
command.
How long has he been in the military? It should be where like
Well, you can't be if you're
Yeah.
21 years
Well,
old,
he's had
right?
this level of clearance since 2021. I read that.
then
2
I mean,
years.
That's so he had the level
Yeah,
of clearance
at
since
19.
At 19 years old.
No,
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
The guy was not able to even
Uh-uh.
drink at that point
Uh-uh.
legally.
Yeah.
Right? So
not with that.
it
He
is a
could barely
significant
hire
problem.
him.
So-
It is a significant problem. I feel for his family. You know, what I mean,
Yeah,
I can
it's
only
gonna be rough.
imagine how proud. Listen, my son is in the Navy, right? And so to know that he was making that choice, right, to
Yeah.
go in that direction, one of them out of the 7 that I have, right, one of them decided to
You're getting
offer that level
how
of
many
service.
those
You know
$5
what I
million
mean?
dollars is
You know what I mean? Maybe that would be, you know what I mean?
That was the
I'm
strategy.
So-
I'm
Is
trying
that
to
what you're
get to
advocating
50.
for
But
it?
my point to
Yeah.
you is that, as a father, you know what I mean? I love what every single one of my children are doing
Yeah.
right now. You know what I mean? And I'm deeply grateful that they're finding their own way through life. But I do see, in a very special way,
Yeah.
when one of your children says, you know what, I want to put a few years of service, right? Love the country, I love everything that we stand for. It's going to be good for my discipline. There's so many, as a parent, right? You look at those moments and you're saying, man, I'm extremely proud of what's taking place. So I feel for his parents, right? Thinking, I can only imagine how much pain and suffering, especially because, again, it doesn't come across like this was a conspiracy situation where he got connected with some crazy Russians
Yeah,
somewhere. This is just a stupid kid doing what stupid kids do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if this doesn't if no other hands,
Yeah.
if no other
Get burned.
people, responsible people, get dragged into this situation to be held accountable, though,
That's a problem.
then it's a failure of,
Yeah.
of our own system. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When it comes to looking for justice.
If this were a company,
accountable.
if this were an actual company, like the branch of the military that's in charge of this government, whatever it is, right? This company would have gone bankrupt in a matter of a couple of days. If it's such an information like this, let's say you were in charge of like whatever cybersecurity for X amount of companies, and one of your biggest accounts goes whoop. That company, that CEO is fired, and that company goes bankrupt, regardless of.
No, not always.
What do you mean?
Not always. No, there's been
To that level?
There's been many a
To
times
that level?
where there's been big things going on with banks, and then somehow there's individuals who will get in trouble or get fired or go to jail where the bank itself is fine. But so I think it depends on the company. It depends on the company.
Yeah, but I'm signing.
Cybersecurity.
I'm signing the
Yeah.
military guys
This
for a
is-
reason.
Yeah.
I'm signing because I agree with you that there is the same way that there is political corruption. There is also private enterprise corruption, right? So you look at some of these big companies, some of these big players.
Yeah.
We just had a conversation about this bank that went under
Yes.
that literally the day before was giving away bonuses, right? And so that already implies okay, there's a level of corruption at that corporate level. So I'm not even but military in this country, the military is held at a different standard
Yeah.
for a reason. It's like the last place where certain things are supposed to function
Yeah.
properly, but it looks like even that now
Yeah.
is being tainted by a lot of ideologies out there that
No,
now we
100%,
have to put into
100%,
question. You know what I mean?
100%,
And then but in a normal environment, especially listen. Can I tell you? For me, I like to compare the military to the small business owner because a bigger company, literally, they can afford corruption. They can afford to play. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, there's a lot that they can get away with. For the small business owner, is what happened, right? Who knew about it, and who gave it the okay? Because in that order, right, some heads are going to have to roll.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you can
But-
potentially put me out of business.
Got
You know
you.
what I mean?
So
In a
here it
situation.
goes. And just to make matters worse, I think this is an issue going on with the military on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of video where now it's like even they're going through situations where you're not allowed to address people as sir anymore. So it's a lot of different things going on where you see there's a breakdown in our fundamental principles of what the military was supposed to be. So then now when you have issues coming from people who are running the show at the top with things that are so trivial, then you can't focus 100 places at once. So if my focus is on this thing on how am I going to address somebody, then yes, you can easily be not paying attention to matters like, all right, what level of security are we? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I could see how, unfortunately, we have a bigger problem.
You were too busy with the Bud Light transgender.
Yeah, correct. And
conversation.
they're focusing on that instead of things that actually matter, and then it's a big problem, you know. And I'm never gonna say that I have an issue with the country. You know, I love this country, but I definitely believe there's things that need to be changed to make it even better. You know, and included in the military. You know, and I don't know if you could blame it on one individual or a few. I don't know how you do that, or what's the answer to how to fix it. But I think this is just a glimpse of a bigger problem going on. If
I'm questioning the quality of leadership that we have at this very moment in the country. Right? I mean, because leadership is everything. Right? I mean, is what's going to trickle down from that leadership concept, right? Philosophy, positions, perspectives. You know, what I mean, what's also being taught throughout every single one of the environments. You know, what I mean, I think that the country right now, the fact that we are so divided about things that should be connected to common sense. You know, what I mean, not even an issue. You know, what I mean, the fact that the country right now is arguing, you know, what is a man, what is a woman, what is the fact that we, and then that you're gonna be, if you don't agree with any of those positions, you're immediately accused of being a bigot, which is, by the way, I mean, I'm just glad that I can get away with so much as an immigrant. You know what I mean, just because, you know what I mean, like, what are you gonna accuse me of? You know what I mean, of being what? You know what I mean? But a level of stupidity, especially for the people that are just clearly promoting a very specific agenda, whether it's color, whether it's sex, whether it's gender, whether it's religion, whether it's, you know, you got to be very careful where you're taking the whole country to a path where, like, guys, everybody right now from outside of the country, I did some traveling lately, is looking at the stuff that we got going on, like I say, what the hell is going on in this country right now? And none of it, if you're asking me, none of it is happening by accident. I think that these crazy moments are actually done by design, and people understand the benefit of chaos and the level of distracting you from the real issues, so you don't have to be concerned about what your real problems happens to be, but we don't have some issues to deal with. Just, you know, my final take with this whole situation is, like I said, first of all, again, feel for the family. I hope that at the end we truly get to the bottom of who was responsible for protecting this information, and that those individuals are held accountable, not just a 21-year-old kid that had no business addressing this thing. So,
for me, we need, in addition to that, the accountability but the fact that this guy was lying to us and nobody's willing to question that, lying to Congress and lying to, basically, if you lie to Congress, you're also lying to us. And the fact that nobody's questioning that is deeply troubling, because there's not just pushing an agenda. In addition to that, it's an agenda that is based on lies. It's a big problem. So again, that's how talking about misinformation. It's not just you know, as you're being brainwashed into something and you're being misinformed to levels that is it doesn't take a country down the right path. We've seen that.
And guys, but that takes into the whole other scenario that happened with Elon Musk, right? I mean, when we're talking about the media right now, just going so blindly into promoting an agenda, right? So you have this guy that goes to interview Elon Musk, and he's sitting in front of him saying, well, you know, since you took over, you know what I mean, we've seen this incredible increase of hate speech, and I'm getting a lot of, I have to even, and he goes, just, can you cite one example? Like, what do you know, well, no, I ended up like turning it, so, all right, so, but even prior to that, can you cite one example that you can say that we are, the hate speech right now is higher, greater than it was before I took it over? And like he kept pressing to the point that even now the reporters say, well, we're not going anywhere. You know, what I mean, it's like, we're not going anywhere because it's
Because
not
you took
the way
us
you like
nowhere,
it.
yeah.
But guys, that is the confirmation that people promoting blindly an agenda
Yep.
and wants to describe things and wants to describe people and wants to describe the service of a company, because I don't know what anybody's saying out there, you know, but as far as I'm concerned, I see people that are more freely voicing their opinion, even ones that I don't agree with, right, on Twitter right now. So I don't know if any of you were able to get a little bit of a take on it. I'm sure you're not. You're very familiar with this level of misinformation that's coming out of the media right now. You know what I mean? Because it's not getting any better. This is one of those things that
I think there's actually, I don't know who, but I think there's a push where they're trying to really disrupt all of social media. I think that.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, I think there's certain powers or individuals that
Correct.
don't want the spread of information to be as free as it is. And I think they're trying to find ways where they're going to attack Twitter, they're going to attack all the social media platforms in different ways to limit the access to information.
But remember, at some point, they really had it under control, though. They had it under lockdown. I mean, if you're talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Yeah.
and then YouTube also. You know what I mean? Where if you say something they didn't like, your video and you were like your channel was gone in like 2 seconds. I think there's a little more flexibility because you have other companies that came in to compete. They not as well positioned, but this acquisition that was done by Elon, that
Yes.
kind of changed the game, right?
Yeah.
To the extent that like Truth Social, that was for obviously was
together by Trump.
put together by Donald Trump, and then you have Rumble, I believe is the
Rumble, yeah.
Rumble is the other site that is
It's
growing.
like YouTube. Yeah,
It's like
growing
YouTube, you know what I
aggressively.
mean? Spotify ended up taking a very clear position about Joe Rogan, you know what I mean? So you see a movement that at some point was 100% just supporting one very specific narrative.
And everybody will follow
And,
suit.
and everybody in the media was very much happy with what was taking place here. Now this is shifting a little bit in a different direction. Then everybody obviously upset for you don't hear anybody complaining about Facebook. You don't hear anybody complaining about Instagram. They're complaining about what this guy is doing with Twitter. And so, very specific.
I think
and that's where you can
because-
see the
Yeah,
agenda.
correct,
That's
correct.
my issue.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. And I think because the people at Facebook, they're more along the lines of, oh, we're going to suppress information even more.
Correct.
Versus Elon is like, no. If someone
Whatever
has
it
an
is,
idea
say
that
it.
they want to say, and it's not harming somebody, and it's
Yeah.
not hate speech or whatever,
Correct.
then there should be no reason why they can't say it. But I think they're trying to shut it down. Obviously, I don't know if they're going to be successful going against Iron Man.
Hopefully
You
not.
know, I don't think it's going to
That
work.
is Elon
You know,
Musk. Elon
but
Musk
but
is
yes,
Iron
correct.
Man.
But I think they're definitely going to try to. But it's not. I think it's starting with him, but you're going to see it happen in a lot of different areas as well. And I think this is something we got to pay attention to, because once they start finding ways to stop us from spreading information or just speaking in general and interrupt our freedom of speech, it can be a big problem. Because if there's only one voice that's able to be heard, then there's a problem with that person who controls that voice. You get what I'm saying? And now they're trying to find ways to do that, but I'm voting against that happening.
Yeah.
You know?
So for me, Elon Musk, like, good for him. Good for him to say and having the
Call him out.
cojones
Yeah,
to
yeah.
call him out and be
It
like,
was-
can you
it-
please
it-
clarify?
It was
like, tell
funny
me. It was
and
so-
painful to watch at the same time.
What do you mean? It was delicious. I'm like, give me the popcorn. Like, I'm ready, you know? And it's like, have these guys say something and back it up with facts.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the good thing about it is that there was no way that interview specifically could be edited because it was live somewhere else.
Correct.
You know? So it was beautiful. Like, good for him that he did that. The way that I go, especially when you're talking about they're trying to control it and the censorship and all that stuff, is, again, I hate to bring it up, but this is it's a playbook, it's a
Correct.
blueprint, you know.
Correct.
Cuba, thanks to Elon Musk, whenever things were getting heated up, by the way, you don't hear much about it, you know, but thanks to Elon Musk, Starlink, I think is what it's called, came up, and boom, he was able to put internet access to Cuba so that families will be able to communicate and people for us to see certain things, you know. Anytime the government is doing something that is not good, things go down. It happened in Iran. It happened in Venezuela. It happened in Cuba. It happened in China. You know, there's certain things that for a while, you know, I think that is a little bit different now. But for a while there, things couldn't come in and out of China. You know, so it's like all of these things are happening, and we're okay with it being because it's social media, and they became a self-governing body type of thing. Like they're in bed with these guys, you know? So they're making the news, they're making the stuff, and they're only pushing one narrative. The good thing about that is the freaking Elon Musk is saying, show me where, tell me why, good for him. You know, and it's hate speech for whatever reason now is consider I disagree with you. So if I disagree with you on something, then you're being hateful or you're being racist or you're being whatever, and that's not okay.
There's a very broad definition.
But there's also a description of how weak we are in terms of you know mental toughness and just communications and emotional balance. Is like, you know, if you're gonna say something to somebody who's gonna be so easily offended, then you know, I mean, it just makes it impossible to have a normal conversation with anybody. Elon Musk, listen, my concern with Elon is that Elon right now is borderline entering into that whole Alexander the Great type of situation. What I mean by that is my fear is that something happened to this guy and everything is going to collapse in a matter of months, you know what I mean? Because I don't know exactly what his replacement team is going to look like. I don't know what the leading...
He's a king, not a kingmaker type of thing?
Yeah, unfortunately. By the way, when you at that level, right, it's very difficult to duplicate yourself.
Yeah.
But we're talking about putting systems in place. Every time he's talking about, you know, I've been sleeping in one of the closets or one of the storage rooms and out of Twitter, that doesn't make me feel any, I mean, as much as I respect hard ethic for somebody, hard work and all of those things, it doesn't make me feel any better. I would rather know that, hey, I spent the last 3 hours training some people so that I can duplicate myself, because this guy drops that, there goes Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, you name every company that he's, because that's exactly what happened to the incredible empire that was developed by Alexander the Great, right? That he died and the whole thing just fell apart in a matter of months.
Oh no!
So
we're getting a Constantine.
No. There's no. I'm not going to introduce Constantine, the greatest emperor ever, above and beyond Alexander the Great. I will let you go look it up.
2 cigars.
You're gonna know why he was able to.
2 bottles of
I'm not
wine
gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it. But just so that you do know, you know what I mean. It's, if you don't know how to create continuity, everything that is connected to you is at risk. You know what I mean? So that's something to keep in mind with him. This is a guy that everybody who actually cares for what he's doing and supports what he's doing, he's got to light up a little candle and then saying, you know, please God, because we don't know how the whole thing is going to fall into place. But anyway, he definitely opened a lot of doors for a lot of the people to get into the game and to be able to create a little bit more of a balanced voice, you know what I mean, an opinion coming in from the other side. So happy about that, you know what I mean. So, but anyway, guys, moving into the economy a little bit. We're going into summer. What are you hearing out there? Are you feeling better? Is there anybody? What are we telling everybody in terms of your update about some of the information? Obviously, there's a lot of concerns, a lot of speculation about. You know, the U.S. dollar not becoming the currency of commerce, to get to the point where the currency is going 100% digital. You know, concerns about that. There's also concerns about, again, inflation, according to the so-called, you know, people that really know how to describe it better, right? It continues to go down, but prices continue to go up. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever how the market is reacting. And so a little bit about things that I know about what's taking place with the housing market. There's about 20 different cities that are losing value. 2 of them are 2 major cities in the state of Florida, which is an impact. I'll get to it in
you'll
one
talk
second.
about it. Okay. I'm like, wait, what? That's funny.
So for me, anytime I think about the economy as a whole, I usually think of the same couple things, which is regardless of what's going on in the economy, whether it's the best economy or the worst economy, there's going to be somebody who's losing money and somebody who's making money, right? Even in the worst depression ever, there was people who were making money at that time, you know. So I feel like people just need to put themselves in a better position, you know, as far as being financially literate, you know, which this is Financial Literacy Awareness Month, and most people just don't understand finance, right? So you got to be literate. Also, you got to create a situation to where you have income, like always come, like you got cash flow, because regardless of what the currency is, if I have a way to generate income, you can't stop that. So whether I'm using my source of income to trade it for, you know, like I'm bartering, you know, or I get these digital bits or dollars. It doesn't matter because I have the thing that can generate cash flow. So I think people just need to be more educated on becoming entrepreneurs, you know, understanding financial literacy, because regardless of what the market is doing, you'll be in a good position. Now, with that being said, I think the economy is going to get worse, you know, but that doesn't mean it has to be for everybody, you know. But I think overall, yeah, things are going to continue to get more expensive. More layoffs are going to happen. Companies are already letting us know more layoffs are going to be happening over the next couple months. So it's going to get worse, but it doesn't have to be bad for everybody.
Correct.
You know, so that's how I feel, you know, about the whole situation.
Yeah, it's we're not rock bottom yet, and I think, like you're saying, we're nowhere near. Find a way to make more money, pick up a side hustle, reinvent yourself, do a couple of things in order for you to increase your cash flow. You know, some of again, financing more and more wars that we just found out that we're not necessarily winning. Makes it even more expensive, and if we're going to continue to be sending money out there, that means that things are going to continue to get more expensive out here. That's just the way that it is. Money, if money goes out one way, it has to be tightening another way, and so if that's what's happening, it's what's happening. So what can you do as an individual is that pick up a side hustle, learn how to make money, save it, be savvy with it, and, you know, just make sure that you give yourself multiple, like not multiple, more control of your income. One of the biggest things is if your income is depending on somebody else. That's why I advocate for entrepreneurship, and I think we all do. You know, if somebody else is controlling your income, it becomes a problem, because once that person goes away, like what you're saying with Elon Musk, right? If your job goes away, whether because you lost it or the company went down, then it's done. The fact that layoffs are happening, they keep on happening on tech companies. Which is still at the top of things. We haven't hit the other things that get affected, because those guys that make a lot of money are unable to travel, do things. They have to make certain changes. They have to downsize because that happens. So it's just bracing for impact. And again, I don't want to be doom and gloom. Future looks bright for those people that are like, let me go make more money, let me save, let me put, you know, some money aside, let me not be so aggressive right now with certain things. But be cautiously optimistic, because I do agree that future looks bright. You have to be aware.
You know, they keep saying that ignorance is bliss, right? Because you know, there's a couple of things that I can tell you about this. You know, I mean, first of all, going back to the issue about the housing market, Miami and Tampa. You know what I mean? Which it truly makes sense. You know what I mean? When you're talking about the level of investment that ended up driving prices to a much higher price, those two cities, right? I mean, there was a couple of people that were bragging about, you know, how they purchased this property in this corner and from that position, and we're gonna be able to, and literally we paid $1.5 million, but we're gonna be able to sell it now for like literally 7.5, like a ridiculous price that was not justifiable, but they knew that there was a buyer. By the way, there was a buyer because there was easy money around. There was a buyer because, you know, you had people like desperately trying to get out of places like New York or California, and they are used to paying those prices for certain size properties, right? And so, but now that everything gets tighter when the economy is like this, then that's where the real value, the real price, the real buyer, the real person comes in. And they said, I'm not willing to pay for that. So if you're willing to sell it, here's what I believe is the right. And so what you're running into right now, especially in these cities, is going to be what should be the beginning of a very complicated real estate market. Listen, going into this month, you know what I mean, April, May, June, July, typically is when the real estate market is actually stronger. What that means is that if this is already being announced and spoken about, now I can only imagine what happens by the time you get to September, October.
Right, because you say
You know
that
what I mean?
September
Like that.
people have to check if their
That's
phones are working.
when really, really, really drops. You know what I mean? And so, but listen, I go through different news outlets on a daily basis. And I do that precisely so that when we come to this conversation, we can add value to people. But I can truly, truly understand how some people just make the choice to say, I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to see it. I don't want to know what the hell is going on. I don't know what's happening with the dollar. I just want to know when I wake up tomorrow, I still have a job to go to. Like, I can see how people just check out because the doom and gloom and the amount of bad information that's put out there, negative information, is very difficult for a lot of people to process. The problem, though, is that you can't anticipate, you can't prepare yourself if you refuse to see some of the realities that are taking place out there. You know what I mean? Like the projection of a stock market that can potentially have greater losses, of very, again, credible people making announcements. You know, when even Warren Buffett, you know what I mean, is talking about it's going to be a great time for people that have a lot of money, because again, these are the moments where the poor will become poorer and the wealthier.
Yeah.
Right? And so everything that we're saying constantly about, you got to learn to make some money. Embrace the possibility of becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
See if there is a possibility of using your time in a way that you can create an additional income, because that is the kind of stuff that you can use to start the process of asset acquisition. You know what I mean? You can start buying a few things, and hopefully you're going to buy them at a discount, right? This is when somebody's buying something for $100,000 that can become $1 million, right? When it goes to that point. So hopefully some of that is going to happen. But I can truly, when I was thinking about the situation with the economy, though, my perspective was, I truly understand why people don't want to see it. It's like watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
And you just get to the point where, like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care what's going on. I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the summer economy looks like most people's summer body right now, huh?
I go to the gym, so I don't know nothing about that. I'll be ready for this summer.
You'll be ready.
I'll be ready. Yes.
You're
And
the
my
only one.
pockets and my six packs.
You're the only one who's going to be ready for it. I mean, at least in the
Six
six
packs.
pack.
Multiple six figures,
Yes.
multiple six packs.
Yes.
Got it. Sure you work on both.
But no, you know what's funny about that is that even if you don't want a six pack, right? You should still do
Get
some
six
type of
figures.
exercise,
Oh.
right? Even if you don't want it.
Get to the money. Yeah. It's still
no,
gonna
but
look.
I'm saying
still
because
gonna
some
look
people
good.
they might not want to. Like I've heard people say, "Oh, I don't need to be rich." I get it. You might not need to be rich.
Yeah, but no.
But you don't want to be broke. Like, even if you have no aspirations of making millions of dollars, you don't want to be in a position where you're living paycheck to paycheck. And now you get sick. And it's like, I can't even take care of my necessities. People don't realize how bad of a situation they're in until they can't work for 2 weeks.
Yep.
You know, and that you don't want to be in that position. So it's like, even if you have zero goals of, no, I got to be, living above my means or wealthy, it shouldn't be where you can't afford to do the basic things like pay for your medication or I gotta do this thing for my kid. I don't want to have to wait 3 months and it was supposed to be done last month. So I think people just got to take steps towards just being in a better position, which obviously everything starts and ends with, in my opinion, education. And the right kind of education. The right kind of education.
The thing is that you gotta make an effort though to at least put yourself in a situation where either you're surrounded by the right group of people, or like you're saying, you are intentionally testing what are the right sources of information.
Yep.
And I think that what's becoming very clear right now is that we are so divided as a country, and it's no longer just a political scenario. You know what I mean? It's like our perspectives are heavily divided. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that I know I'm respectful of other people's opinion about certain things, but there's no way in hell that we're going to agree on those things because some of them don't even make any sense to any. Like if somebody came from another planet and you tried to explain some of the stuff, you'll go like, this is the most stupidest thing. Like you guys literally need to evolve a lot more. Like you know what I mean? It's just not going to look good. And so, for me, make an effort. You just surround yourself, get into some better conversations, put yourself into that position, a lot of people just sitting around not doing anything. That alone, just a little bit of movement that takes you to certain places where you can go to. There's a lot of meetings taking place out there, and I know that yes, always somebody's trying to sell you something, but you got to know how to pick up certain things about not only perspectives, but just mentalities, how people
Mindset,
operate. You know what I mean? Just the overall mindset, the overall environment. There are things that if there is anything that COVID ended up teaching an incredible lesson is that this Zoom environment, can only produce certain limited emotions, right? A lot of logical understanding of certain things, but real emotions happens when we get together, when we laughing together, when we crying together, when we fighting together. You can't replace that, you know what I mean? And so people need to look for that, you know what I mean? And hopefully they'll find their own way in that process. But anyway, by the way, right before I go into this scenario, obviously former President Trump, I think I mentioned to you guys, was part of this last UFC fight, and everybody chanting, USA, USA, USA. And I'm going to tell you, like, the people that hate that, I can only imagine how somebody was, like, cutting their veins out. Like, I just want to kill myself. I hate this so much. And for the people that love the idea that somebody, it's not even a question. My sister was making fun of me the other day. She was telling somebody from the family, no, don't say anything bad about Trump because he really likes Trump. I'm like, stop saying that. It's not a question. I just love everything and anyone who is pro-United States of America. It's that simple, right? And so if you're going to put a politician that's going to talk down and talk a lot of crap, and you want to still talk about, the systematic racism that I like, just look at me. Do I look white to you? Do I look, you know how many millions of dollars I have been able to make in this country, or how many times I have not only used but abused and experienced what the concept of the American dream is all about, and I sound the way I sound. And so for anybody complaining about all of these things, all I found here was tools and phenomenal things to use to see people, right? So first of all, the guy, just think about this guy. Like, to me, that was the equivalent. That was the equivalent when Bill Clinton was running. He went into the Arsenio Hall show. I'm going back, guys.
I was going to say, I wasn't even alive back then.
Stop it. So you have this white guy, right, playing a saxophone.
I remember.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about, well, I didn't inhale, but I like, and everybody was like, wow, like, that was a moment where, well, if they want to understand why is it that Donald Trump connects so much with people, he goes in there. I can only imagine Secret Service going crazy. How do you protect this guy? He's sitting next to Dana White, who makes it very clear that he's grateful about the fact that when this organization that now is worth billions didn't have any housing.
WWE,
I know they're the process of doing an acquisition right now.
Freaking awesome.
But just think about that. The fighters are making promotional videos for the guy, and they're like, just thinking about all of that, right? And I don't know if you watched that though. What's your take on it? But just so that my sister can relax a little bit. It's not that I love Donald Trump. I just love everything and anyone who is pro America, my dear sister, so relax.
Yeah, so I seen it live. It was a great fight. If you missed it, you missed it. I'm sorry, you missed out. But when I seen that Trump was there, I was like, wait a minute, was this guy in jail like yesterday? And now he's sitting front row. There's something I'm doing wrong with my life, But no, definitely. I thought it was good. Regardless, I always tell people you don't want to be stuck in any one, mindset where, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, but I'm not going to hate on somebody doing something better for themselves or better for the country. You can't hate on that, because then sometimes you can have the best message, but because you don't like the messenger, you miss the message you were supposed to get. So then, even if I don't, or I had an issue with whatever I had an issue with, if somebody says something or does something that makes sense, you got to support that, right? So overall, like I said, I think it was just a good moment for sports and the country, because anytime I see somebody who is trying to get in any way shut down, and then they overcome or to show people like, hey, I get it. I was in jail yesterday, but I'm here.
You know what's amazing? Though?
Yeah.
like that he's able to command that level of emotion and loyalty from some of the people. They're because that's basically what he's saying. It's like I'm one of you guys. You know what I mean? And everybody's just like going crazy.
So to me, it was good. I like
he was fighting.
Yeah, exactly. He might as well. He should have won in the ring. That would have been awesome, right? But like I said, overall, I thought it was a good moment. And it was in Miami too, so it was in Florida.
I don't think it was just a good moment for the country. I think. I don't think it was just a good moment for Donald Trump. I think it was actually a good moment for the country. You know what I mean? I think that all of us have a lot to learn. Like you're saying, the guy the day before was just like coming out of being booked and processed and the whole thing. Now he's sitting front row, and everybody. I mean, and again, the country have to just pay attention to the fact that we are that divided. You know what I mean?
So,
we just got it.
So I have two questions.
Go ahead.
The first one. So is everybody in UFC a MAGA happy person?
No.
Just checking. Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But the person who owns it, which is, they are.
They are. Okay.
Yeah, but not everybody.
No, but that's not like it wasn't Dana White chanting USA from what I saw in the video. I didn't see the fight, but it was a bunch of people.
First of all,
going
this
at
was
it.
happening
It was
in
like
Miami.
This is
so let me start with that, right?
Okay.
It starts in Miami.
Okay.
Yes, people came from different places, and I'm not going to say to watch the fight.
Right.
So second of all, you don't have even some of the fighters, some of the people that come to a lot of people that watch the fights that are very much pro-Republican, pro-Donald Trump, but also again pro-United States. You know what I mean? Even some of the fighters that came here from Brazil, from other countries, like you can only be grateful. I was broke in the middle of nowhere. My house when it was raining.
Millions of dollars today.
when it was raining, I needed an umbrella inside of my house, not outside of the house. Here I am. I just made $1 million in this fight. How can you not be grateful about the whole
100%.
situation?
Here's my second question. You ready?
All right.
What would have happened if Joe Biden showed up to that fight?
He would have fell asleep.
I don't think he would have.
But would there be like any emotion whatsoever? What kind of emotion would have been? It would have been booed.
I think it would have been booed. I think. Listen, you know what I mean. You see that he's being, part of protecting the president and the image of the presidency is that you got to be very careful where you allow the president to go into precisely for that reason. Because it's a risk. You walk into this, 5,000 people, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people. This was 20,000 people in this arena, right? And so it's a risk. You walk in there. This goes very bad. You know what I mean? Exactly. And also all the sympathy. That all the sympathy points that he got, right? Just out of that whole situation would have gone out the window if everybody would have turned on him. But again, it's just keep building up to, first of all, the fact that he had the guts to say, here I am, right? And I'm with you, and I'm one of you, and it just, again, keeps piling up on a very positive narrative. This guy absolutely
I'm not mad at it.
All I'm saying is Elon Musk called it. He says if Trump gets arrested, he will be the next president. And guess what? Like, he's becoming more and more popular by the minute.
And yes, I'll just say yes.
Yeah, but just looking at the economy, and again, listen, guys, I want to get your final thoughts about everything that we spoke about here. But just going back to, I'm going to just one of the ways of thinking, right? Not just in terms of the economy, but in terms of how we were dealing with foreign policy. And going back to citing this war with Ukraine, I think it would be extremely appropriate to let everybody know which one is the book that we have sitting here with us today. This is from Robert Greene, 33 Strategies of War. Strategy number 22 is know when to get out. And if everything that they're saying right now is truthful about the real condition between Ukraine and Russia, guys, we're coming out of this situation with more enemies than friends. We're coming out of this situation. It's like at this point, one of the things that this man will be arguing for is you got to know when to get out, right? And you got to know exactly how to and also get everybody else. Like he would have been pressuring NATO right now to take more financial responsibility and to get more involved with what's taking place. And I also know that most of what's taking place there will have never happened if he would have been the president of the country. So But anyway, let's see if we can wrap this up, guys. Any final thoughts? Any perspectives?
So for me, I think the biggest thing that everybody can do and that I would be thinking about is finding ways to educate yourself on what's going on. Obviously, by subscribing to channels like this one, definitely
TDC.
watching it. Yes. Definitely watching it, spreading it, sharing the information. Number 2, reading books. Like, I hate that people don't read. I don't know why, but most people don't read, and just something as simple as that, by watching the right podcast or reading the right books, you can get so much information in such a short time. And once you know better, you can put yourself in a way better position. Never think that things can't be changed. You can always change it. And then the last thing that I would say is this, and this comes from the fight that I seen, which was an amazing fight, is that you can lose multiple times and still win. Mm-hmm. You can lose multiple times and still win. Be the underdog, have all the things going against you, and you can still come out on top. So you always got to be positive as far as optimistic about the future. The future is definitely looking bright. So that will take you so much further than you thinking it's a wrap for everything and we're going down. So that's my final message.
Don't let 21-year-old into final message. Don't let 21-year-olds into rooms that they shouldn't, or access to information that they shouldn't. They're silly and they're meant to be 21-year-olds. Look, that's pretty much it. Just pay attention to the things that are being put out there. Read more than you watch as far as your media goes. Make sure you don't do anything stupid to impress anybody. Like, find self-worth, and it's just that's it. Look, for me, more and more, Twitter is that platform for me that becomes everybody's kind of like bickering type of thing. It's very bickery, and it's not like hate speech. It's just everybody that is like, they just have something to say. It's like what is it? The customer complaint line type of thing that happens. That for me is Twitter. But more and more, I see I have an opportunity to truly see both sides. You don't really have that. So go in it, know that you're gonna find really bitchy people, but on the other side, you're gonna be able to find some stuff as far as the economy. Future looks bright for those that are willing to work, that are not blindsided, or that are at least willing to put in the work. Future looks bright if you're willing to put in the work, if you're being calculating with your money, if you have your strategies of war, and also, I love America. I love this country. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and anybody that talks crap about it, I have a problem with. So just be grateful for this amazing country. You don't know what it's like not to have America if you're outside of it. And if you are in here, if you were born here, if you don't know, but if you happen to be somebody that is an outsider, my invitation to you is to share the message. I love, shout out to you, that video that you share about El Conejo. It's like part 2 of the Immigrant Chronicles. If you haven't seen that video, watch it. It's heartwarming how through so much pain and through so many things that you had to sacrifice to get to this country, you're somehow still able to see the benefits. Most people don't see it. Most people get stuck into the victimhood, and that's why a lot of people don't necessarily have the results that you do. So you're an example to watch, and I'm grateful that you're putting those messages out, because a lot of people don't have not even the mindset to do it, not even the courage. They just look at it from a bad perspective.
I'm grateful. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And I'm coming from a place of gratitude. I'm not trying to become famous or anything like that. I just want to see if this is a time for me to try to add some value, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to see if I can do it from different perspectives, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it is more than anything else gratitude that has taken place through our conversation. And even though, guys, we spoke about so many things that deal with, especially we spend a lot of time on the whole classified documents issue. My closing message is for Elon Musk. I really took the time to think about, what happens if something happens to this guy. By the way, this guy who a lot of people don't like him. And this guy who, just like a lot of people who also fear for their lives, have to come to the point of saying, I will never kill myself. When somebody's saying something like that, because you know that person already fears for something that can potentially go wrong. You know what I mean? And he's also not a guy that walks around with fear, but he knows that that's a potential risk he's facing. You know, I would love to see him, being able to make clear to a lot of people that do support him and what he does, for him to actually put a succession team, you know what I mean? So that people can also trust on the additional things that will come out. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I mean, I don't have a big following, and Twitter was never one of those. I know that a lot of people got early on into it, and either follow a lot of people or develop a big following. It was never, still is not a big social media tool, but because of him, you know what I mean, I absolutely said, I'm going to support it a little more. But I'm going to see if I can connect to it a little more and see if because I want to support the idea of a real free speech environment, right? I mean, so I believe that that's what's taking place in that social media platform right now, right? The second thing is, I own a Tesla. I own a Model X, you know what I mean? I own a Tesla Model X, so I support your product, right? You know what I mean? And I support your products, you know what I mean? I think that, this whole debate that we keep going on as to what's the best way of dealing with energy, you know what I mean? I think that the jury's out. We still don't know exactly what will have greater consequences. But more than anything else, though, I'm extremely respectful about the SpaceX program. For the simple fact that his argument has been very consistent. If we don't know how to get off this planet, right? And I don't care who you are as a species, right? You're doomed to be done one day. Whether that's going to happen 100 years from now or 100,000 years from now, that is one of those things. The fact that this is a guy that is that kind of visionary, right? That's saying we need to learn how to get off the ground.
Mars.
Yeah, I just the whole idea. You know what I mean? We got to learn to go. We got to develop the capability to go somewhere in the event that something happens, and we got to do it in a way that is going to be easy for the average person to have access to. Because otherwise, again, it just becomes a next thing you know is Bill Gates going to Mars, and Martians out there are like, just keep that guy out there, right? So. But, I would love to see that happen. With that being said, for everybody watching us today, if you saw any value, if this was helpful in any way, shape, or form, if you want to send a message to Elon, this would be a good time to say, hey, listen to what that guy is saying, because we definitely need to know what your exit strategy can potentially be so that we can continue to support, or that we know that these things are not going to be collapsing. Yeah. Subscribe, like, pass it around.
Yes.
Guys,
yes.
Yep.
Tell us if you agree or disagree.
Correct. I think I know what's going to happen.
What do you think is going to happen?
He's going to download his consciousness into 3 different AIs, and they're going to take the place of Elon.
Why 3?
AI is going
because one is not enough.
One is not enough.
It's going to be 3. There's no significance.
So for the next podcast, we're going to tell you exactly what type of AIs we're talking about.
Yes,
we're going to give you a more accurate description, so you know. And maybe that would be a great recommendation for Elon also. So who knows? With that being said, thank you, everybody, for being part of this conversation today.
Deuces.
Yep.
Take it easy.